Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the Frontline Changes Report. I haven't done this for the past 3 days, so today is a 3-day report. Did I say this is Defense Politics Asia? Yeah, I did say it. So for the day of 1063 to 1065, 21 to 23 of January, yeah, this is why you don't break from routine. No, like you just get lost. So there's a lot of frontline change because the 3-day frontline change, as you can see, massive frontline changes, and oh yeah, the Ukrainians clearly have only 1.2 square kilometers captured as and that 1.2 square kilometers half of it is actually retaken by the Russian forces. So yeah, so this is just me coping for the Ukrainians. So otherwise, massive losses of ground by the by the Ukrainians, and that's why I say yeah, Ukraine is winning. So let's turn off this before I forget. Then let's go into the frontline changes. We're gonna go from we go from the north, from the Kursk front, and so over at the Kursk front at the western flank, there is two frontline changes. Let's put this as the northern part. So there is one geolocation. This one of the latest geolocation with Russian forces basically on the outskirts of Svidiklovo, which means the Russian forces have stormed down the road, and also which means that they actually have firm control over at least major part of the forest or forest line around that region. In fact, I was almost tempted to just draw it like this, but I decided not to because just want to be a bit more conservative, because the geolocation over here wrote that they were under fire by the Ukrainian forces. So I just put it as a bit more conservative. Maybe the Ukrainians have all these tree lines around here, so it is possible. But this is definitely a Russian trying to storm into Svidiklovo. That also means needling clean is very safe. The total distance traveled is around 2.2 kilometers. So this is a pretty big advance by the Russian forces. Over in Nikorsky, this is wrong color. The Russian forces basically have entered into the north of Nikorsky. And this combined with the previous frontline changes shows that the Russian forces basically have taken all these tree lines or forest lines in the northwest of Nikorsky and the west of Viktorovka as they close down on Nikorsky. Ukrainian forces most likely have Nikorsky and Viktorovka still, so the battle continues. The total distance traveled is around 1.56 kilometers, so pretty major capture. The area here is 1.89 square kilometers. So this is actually a very big ground. Like if you try to look at the building, imagine the size of a person. This is actually pretty big. So anyway, moving that's all from the Kursk front. We move into the Dvorichna front. So I did a battlefield analysis of Dvorichna, and just within hours, like the mapping on that battlefield analysis is already outdated. However, it doesn't change a lot because whatever that was analyzed is still relevant. So Russian forces basically have taken this entire forest over in the north of Zapadne and secured the entire road. The Ukrainians did draw it in a very like a coping way, where they say that the on the right, the road on the eastern part is all Russian control, on the western part is gray zone. It's just nonsensical. Like, yeah, you take the road or you don't take the road. So whatever it is, the Russian forces secure the entire road and secure the entire forest east of Zapadne, and they have entered into the forest north of Zapadne. It is important to note that the Russian Defense Ministry have declared the capture of Zapadne, but we still do not have the mapping to reflect on that. But the fact that the Russians have the forest in the north, there's a very high chance the Ukrainians are not in the settlement. So this Zapadne is either there's no man inside or the Russians have actually taken it. The total distance traveled is pretty big, is 2.4, 2.5 kilometers, very big distance. And the total area captured is 2.62 square kilometers. Very big capture by the Russian forces. They took one forest, then another forest, then another forest. And then with the Zapadne, and yeah, this is going to be a massive bridgehead. A very strong foundation for the Russians to push on. Not to mention Dvorichna is falling. So So after Zapadne, we jump to Tavriia. So over in the Kupyansk front, the Ukrainian mapping have finally acknowledged that this salient here, or this region around the Tavriia, very dirty area. You can see that it's totally wild. Like the forest just grow randomly. This entire area here, which has been very disputed, the gray zone, the parallel universe has been here for a long time, finally changed and acknowledged that most of the Russian claims is actually accurate. So the Russian forces basically advanced into Bakhmut region, so they have captured all this area. The total frontline change is 1.7 to 2 kilometers different, so pretty big. So and this includes some parts that the Russians never claimed, so this is actually a capture, but that's all. After Tavriia, we go down to Makiivka. In the north of Nevsky, which is now on Google Map renamed as Balka Zuravka, which actually refers to this gully here, because Balka is actually gully, and oh sorry, it's this one here, this galley. This is the gully. This is actually the real Balka Zuravka. This is Nevsky. I'm not sure what the hell Google Map is doing, but whatever it is, in the north, Ukrainian mapping have acknowledged that this impossible salient, like as I always say, impossible salients are impossible. Russian forces have straightened the front line, taking the entire road leading up north to Makiivka through Nevsky. Now the entire region here, the farmlands, has been taken by the Russian forces. The total length north to south is 2 kilometers. From the previous front line to the now front line is 2.7 kilometers. This is a massive area that is conceded to the Russians. And of course, which is also the reason why they refuse to acknowledge this for a long time. But now everything is going to shit. Maybe they are a bit more willing to show that they have lost all these impossible salient. But there's more, there's still impossible salient here. There's still more impossible. There's a lot of impossible salient, which I don't believe makes sense. Like, this, it don't make sense. So anyway, after Makiivka and Nevsky region, we go to the Bakhmut front. At Chasiv, the Russian forces expanded control. This time round, the entire western part of Chasiv or northwestern part of Chasiv fall to the Russian forces. And this is based on geolocation. Russian forces taking everything. So pretty significant update around here at Chasiv. And we move on from Chasiv. I know you're expecting me to say that Chasiv is not important, right? Yeah, I know, because I try to say that all the time, but I deliberately not say. So now I say it again. You see? You cursed it. So over at Pokrovsk, the Russian forces have taken most of Krimsky right now, at least half of it, next to Pokrovsk. With this advance confirmed by geolocation, Russian forces advancing into Krimsky, capturing good grounds. The total front line is actually around 1.5 kilometers long. So the total advancement is around 400 meters. So that's all from Krimsky at the Pokrovsk front. And then we move on to the northern flank of the Pokrovsk front. So this area here, a lot of significant change, and this is also where the Ukrainians had their only positive frontline change in the past 3 days, which is a claim. This is not a capture. This is a claim where they claim that the Russians did not advance, have no positions here. So they claim that they have secured the line all the way up to this point, which is immediately invalidated by themselves to claim that the Russians actually taken more ground towards the highway exchange. Anyway, let's go part by part. At the north of Velyka, towards Bakhmut, Russian forces capturing all of these forests as well as some fortification and regions all around the lake. With potentially Ukrainians still have this stronghold. Russian forces that went all the way to the outskirts of Bakhmut, capturing all of these grounds. So pretty big area captured, which is 1.8 square kilometers. But I still feel like this is mostly. I think now this makes sense in the sense that this is just a creation of buffer zone north of Vostevzenka. But previously the attack towards Bakhmut was pretty diversionary. Ukrainian mapping finally acknowledged the loss of this. Actually, this is like disclaim. This is actually I write wrong. This is not capital. This is disclaim. So on the 21st January report, the Ukrainians have acknowledged that everything north of Timofievka and Luzovatsky, west of Vozdovizhenka, is under Russian control. They have straightened the front line along the road, and everything else is taken by the Russian forces. And this area has been claimed to be under Russian control much earlier. So this is pretty much acknowledgement that this impossible salient, again, like I said, is impossible. And so clearly, impossible is nothing, just like what Adidas say, and they got nothing here. So over this area towards Vodiane Druhi, as mentioned, Russian forces have captured the rest of these buildings region. This I think this is a barn, granary or barn or something, and then they have advanced down the tree line, securing stronger control. No, that's about it. So that's all from this Vozdovizhenka region, the northern flank of the Pokrovsk front. The distance to the highway exchange is now merely 1 kilometer. So we move on to the rest of the Pokrovsk front. At the Pokrovsk sector, this is the other side of this pincer, where in case you do not know, this is a pincer. This is like a massive, stupidly massive pincer. Over this region here, Russian forces have taken. So let's focus one by one because it's very complicated. At Kotline, Russian forces have been geolocated north of Kotline, completing this northern flanking movement, where they went from the eastern part of Kotline and then they went north. And now they also have taken grounds on the west of Kotline, as well as the first street in the south of Kotline, all taken by the Russian forces. So this is a pincer operation, and this threatens encirclement. In fact, the operational encirclement is already completed. If there's any Ukrainian forces out here, redrawing out is a suicide mission. Like trying to get out is a suicide mission. So everything is under fire control. The distance between the two sides is merely 800 meters. This is basically in range of machine guns from both sides. So machine guns, snipers, even rifles, they can easily fire 400 meters. So 400 meters from both sides is very difficult to get out. This merely just small arms. So over at the south of Wydashny, Russian forces again is doing flanking operations. They are flanking south, capturing the entire tree line south of Dashny. Clearly, the Ukrainians have very strong defense line or no defense around here, which is why causing this Russian improvisation of the tactics. So the distance captured is around 1.8 kilometers. I realize I'm doing too much analysis, so I'll try to control myself. Because this is analysis is part of the sitrep. Russian forces captured the rest of the intestine as per map by the Ukrainian mapping. They finally acknowledged this ridiculous thing is taken by the Russian forces. Moving into the southern flank of the Pokrovsk front, Russian forces have captured another tree line south of Novoyelizaveta. They have entered into Novoandrievka and flanking south towards Stripny. Everything south of Ukrainka and north of Slovianka has all now firmly under Russian control, mapped by the Ukrainian mapping. So this is also part of another rather not impossible but very difficult salient. It's very hard to believe Ukrainian forces holding those positions. So clearly this has fallen. The total distance in the furthest point is around 5.28 kilometers long. So this is a pretty big capture. The front line is pretty big. It's around 4 kilometers long. So yeah, so that's the front line changes over in the southern flank of the Pokrovsk front. Strategically, this is still not very significant just yet. As I mentioned, this is just a major western flanking operation in the north of Andriivka. But this is there's still a lot to develop. So yeah, it's not critical just yet. Over in the Krakove region, Russian forces have taken the north of Shevchenko, and then they have also advanced towards Dashny from the south of Staritany. This is all mapped by the Ukrainian mapping. So that's all. I also noticed Ryba do not post much Ukraine war update nowadays. It looks like most of the frontline or mapping changes is now exclusively behind their paywall. I think they do only limited reports on the Telegram channel while they focus on geopolitics, and I think it makes sense because maybe the mapping is giving them good money. Second is that Ukraine war is now a foregone conclusion. Russia is 100% winning. Ukraine have no way to win anymore. So or even deter the Russians anymore. So I think the focus for them is moving towards geopolitics, which also what DPA is doing actually. But I think Ukraine war is still the bread and butter for now. So which is why I'm still spending a lot of time on Ukraine war, but I'm also moving towards geopolitics, which is my passion. My passion is geopolitics. So anyway, yeah, Russian forces straightened the front line a bit over at the north of Yantarny, but yeah, small change, not very important. And then we move on to Velyka Novosilka, which is the star of the show. Massive collapse. And this mapping right now looks like a heart. Like this is a heart, literally the shape of a heart, like the real heart, not this heart, not this heart, no, not this apple-ish heart. No, it's like the real heart. It's looking like a heart, and this heart is getting crushed, coming from the east, which is the hand, like this, the heart, and then the hand like just crush it. And the crushing is coming from the east. The entire sector A. So I remember if you had watched other mapping, not other mapping, other videos by me on the Velyka Novosilka recently, I call this sector A, B, and C. So to make it simpler to understand what's the frontline change, sector A has fallen entirely under Russian control. So this is entirely captured by the Russian forces. Sector C is entirely encircled by the Russian forces. And now the Ukrainians are only remaining over in Sector B. Sector C is encircled. So I just want to highlight all of these are captures except this one. This is a Russian claim. This is mapped by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, have mapped that the Russian forces actually have taken all of the north of the bridge of this linking to Sector C. So this is a claim. We cannot confirm this. Otherwise, everything else is Russian capture. So the Russian forces taken the entirety of Section A of Velyka Novosilka, and geolocation showing Russian forces raising the flag, and then Ukrainian mapping actually mapped them even further than what I did, towards capturing the center or the northern center of Velyka Novosilka. The entire eastern part of Sector B is taken. Then we have taken this. So this is the confirmed captures, and then we have the mapping by Deep State UA, not Deep State UA, by the Ryba, claiming this area here is taken by the Russian forces. So Ukrainian forces encircled in the south, and then in the north they have lost the security of whatever region on the western part of the Sector A. So the only thing left is to withdraw or surrender. In the south, this is clearly they have to surrender. There's no way out anymore. Even if this claim does not exist, the area, the streets that's left for them to escape is now under dangerous fire control and sniper fire, most likely by the Russian forces. So I think we are watching the end of Velyka Novosilka. But anyway, I'll do more analysis in the third wrap. But this is the frontline change. This is 3 days. So in 3 days, half of Velyka Novosilka is gone. And total distance traveled at max is 2 kilometers. So that's what it is. So anyway, this is the frontline changes report. And let's do some mathematics. So as mentioned earlier, the Ukrainians have captured 1.2 square kilometers, and even that was actually cut down. And the biggest capture is actually at Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk is actually collapsing in the past 3 days. We have massive frontline changes in the north, in the Pokrovsk sector, and especially in the south. This is underreported, I would say, versus Velyka Novosilka, which is now the star of the show. But this Velyka Novosilka in total only represents 3.74 kilometers. This is even smaller than the frontline change over at Makiivka, where the entire gully region was lost, and also no lesser than the disclaimed at Tavriia at the Kupyansk front. So, in by area captured, this is actually quite small, Velyka Novosilka. And in the Kursk front, also the Kursk front captures are also much bigger at 5 square kilometers, combining these two advancements. So just to put into perspective, it, despite Velyka Novosilka is an exciting thing, the Russians are actually making much more progress elsewhere. So and of course there's also Dvorichna, which is pretty important. So anyway, let's do some mathematics. No, let's not let me drone on. So let's find a good scenery. That's Velyka Novosilka. Like, let's show the heart here. So then let me pull out the calculator. So 5.18 plus 2.62 plus 4.74 plus 4.13 plus 0.49 plus 0.4 plus 28.69 plus 3.86 plus 3.74. So total area captured is 53.85 square kilometers. And actually, if you divide by 3, this is actually pretty consistent. Over 10 kilometers, below 20 kilometers, square kilometers captured by the Russian forces on a daily basis. So the Russians have been very consistent. It feels slightly faster, like a bit more than previously, like it's in the higher tens than lower tens, but it is still pretty much below 20 square kilometers per day. So yeah, so anyway, this is it, the Russian forces capturing 53.85 square kilometers per day over the past 3 days. So thank you for watching. Press the heart, caress the heart, which is called the like button, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you watch to this point, clearly you should subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.